Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to talk about triads and their inversions. This is a good thing to know because you basically can't touch a guitar without playing a triad or hitting a triad somewhere. They're everywhere. It's a great way to break down the fingerboard and really get to understand the guitar. And it kind of basically makes the fretboard shrink. Like it stops looking like a whole bunch of strings and notes all over the place, and you're lost. And then you start to see triads, and you start to see things are the same. This D is the same as this D, which basically is the same as this D. So you can play a lot of the same stuff in different places. And so today, for the sake of the lesson, we're just going to do D major, okay? Just learn some triads, show you an easy way to remember them, know where they are, learn the shapes, and where the root notes are, that kind of thing. So let's start with just plain Jane D major that you should already know if you're watching this lesson. All right, just D major, that one right there. Okay, so the D that we all know, the first D chord we ever learn, really, right, is this little sucker down here on the second and third frets. Now, for any chord, you have to have three notes, the root, the third, and the fifth of the chord. And without getting too deep into any music theory, okay, for anybody that isn't sure what that means, just think, there's 7 notes in a scale, but we're only worried about like the first 5 for the sake of this lesson. And so you got the root, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth, right? So for any chord, you got to have a root note. You skip the second note, you get the third note, you skip the fourth note, and you get the fifth. So in this case, D major, we got D, E, F sharp, G, and A. So based on what I just said, that means we just need the D, the F sharp, and the A. And that's it. Anywhere we can play D, F sharp, and A, we have a D major chord, okay? So when we're only going to play 3 strings, by the way, at a time. That's all we're doing is 3 strings at a time. That's it. So on strings 1, 2, and 3, around here on the second and third frets, we have this D chord. That is a D major. This note is the D. This is the F sharp, and this is the A. Okay. Now, as far as inversions are concerned, we'll get into that in a second. But for right now, we're just going to say this is D. Okay, and this is how this works out. To learn that there's 4 D chords we can play here. There's 4 here, and there's 4 here. So around the 2nd fret, the 5th fret, and the 10th fret, that's like 12 different D chords. And then you have basically 3 other D bar chords. So there's like 15. And then that's kind of it, man, for D, I mean, there's probably a few other places you can spread the voicings out and stuff, open them up and stuff and play D a few other ways, but basically there's 15 D chords. So here we go. So we're going to take this D major chord, this 3-note chord right here, and all you got to do is move this F sharp down an octave to this 4th fret on string 4. And so to do that, my second finger is going to take care of the root, so I can put my third finger over here on that F sharp. And there is my next D chord. See how that sounds? They sound the same, but different. Yeah, I know. Had to say it. Okay, so now we're going to leave the A and the F sharp where they are, but we're going to move the D down an octave. Okay, so now you have this sucker right here. D, F sharp, A. guessed it. Lastly, we're going to leave the D and the F sharp where they are. We're going to move the A down an octave to the 5th fret of the big string. And there's another D chord. Alright. So now, before we go up the neck, let's just talk about inversions real quick. So if you have any chord with the root on the bottom, the root being the lowest sounding note coming out of your guitar, like that one right there, that's called root position. Okay? Root position. That's what that is. The root is on the bottom. If you move the root to be the highest note in the chord, or the highest voice, that's called first inversion. And if I move the 3rd up an octave, that's called second inversion. So we have root position, first inversion, second inversion. And because there's only 3 notes that we're playing right now, we only have a root position and a first inversion, second inversion. We only have 3 different voicings because there's 3 notes. Some dictionaries, music dictionaries, or music theory will tell you that root position is root position because the root's on the bottom, and it'll say, it'll keep with that, and it'll say, well, first inversion means that the 3rd is on the bottom, and second inversion means that the 5th is on the bottom. And that's true, that's cool, but in the real world, at least for me, the way I look at it is, I think more about like the other note, the higher note. So for me, root position is root position, but the root's on the bottom, but I'm thinking of this A note being the highest note. But I just say root position. Okay, but when I start thinking to myself first inversion, second inversion, I'm really thinking about what the highest note is. So I tell myself first inversion means that the root is on the top. And that's where I stop. Because that's usually going to tell you, which inversion, what note you want on top tells you which inversion you're going to play. Because the other instruments are going to have like the root notes covered and stuff. So, and then second inversion means that the 3rd is on top. But so the takeaway here, as far as I'm concerned, the takeaway here is root position is root position. That's it. That means the root's on the bottom. First inversion, root is on the top. Root position, first inversion, root's on the top. Second inversion, the 3rd is on the top. And always knowing where the root note is, like here, the root note's in the middle. It's the middle note. Here, it's the high note. Here it's the low note. Knowing where that root note is going to help you move these things around. So now, let's look at, let's go up the neck. So now we have, we go to this A note right here, and we have a D and an F sharp right next to it on the 7th fret of strings 2 and 3. That's our D, F sharp, and A. Let's move this camera just a smidge. So there's our D, 5th fret and 7th fret. Okay. So there's that one. Now we're going to move the A over an octave, or down an octave over to string 4. And you can play it like this, but I usually play it like this. So I got D, move the A down an octave, and I get this. If I move the F sharp, which is right here, okay, I move it down an octave to the 9th fret of string 5. There's my next D chord. If if I move the D, which is right here, down an octave, okay, to the 10th fret, I have another root position D chord. It sounds just like this one. Alright, so here's D, here's D, D, D. And lastly, okay, those same three strings, we're just going to move up here, find this D note on the 10th fret of string 1. We got A right next to it, and then we have F sharp right there. So here's our D major. Now I'm going to move the D note on string 1 down an octave to right here on string 4. Now I'm going to move the A down to string 5. And then I'm going to move the F sharp down to string 6. So now I have there's all those, right? And so the way to practice this, just so you know, is like, start with this one and just do what we just did. Making note, these are all major triads, and so just kind of try to find a way to commit these shapes to memory. And then I go up here to the 5th and 7th frets. And then 10 and 11, moving into 12. And then lastly, another way to practice this is to just go up and down a set of strings. Here's D, 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 and then hop over a string. Hop over a string. The big string, so on. And then, the more you do it, the more you'll see, like, this D bar chord, this D bar chord, and then this big sucker up here. How they're all related, And, then maybe do another good thing to do would be if you know a little bit about music theory, right? You would know, like, to make a major chord minor, just lower the 3rd a half a step, and then do all those. Do D minors. You don't have to do all these for all 12 keys. You're going to get used to the shapes of the chords, and you're going to say, well, if this is D minor, this is F sharp minor. Got it. And so on. Or, here's E minor. That's kind of a cool one because you can put it with this. Or even here. There's tons of reasons to know these triads. Do different chord qualities, and in one of the next lessons we'll talk about altering the triads to get other sounds. Major 7 sounds, minor 7 sounds, that kind of thing. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was informative. If you're looking for lessons, you can click the link in the description below and sign up for the free trial. There's tons of lessons that cover a whole lot of ground between beginner and intermediate, and a few little advanced things sprinkled here and there. And you can always opt out if you decide it's not for you. But I hope to see you there.